If you're following Depth vs. Herd and this channel, I'm sure you know Amber had a baby via surrogate, and people have been following it and talking about it and talking about whether people should follow it, whether people should talk about it, whether people should leave Amber alone about it, and all that kind of thing. So it's kind of difficult to talk about because it can't please everybody. And I have 3 kids. I raised 3 kids. I've got 2 cousins downstairs. Well, my kids' cousins, 2 kids downstairs, you could say. And I know a lot about kids and how they react at all ages. The oldest right now is 8, so I'm very used to this age. I've still got one at 3, and the cousins downstairs just turned like 5. So when I see people say things like, well, Amber's a bad mother, look at that, her kid hates her, I gotta think about the 5 kids I've raised and my experiences and compare critically. And I mean, just for a second, I gotta stop and think about if I'm being biased just because I don't like Amber and what she did to Johnny. Now, this photo here looks pretty bad, especially if you don't have kids. You might be thinking, oh my God, this kid hates her. Maybe that's proof of something. But as unpopular as it might be, kids sometimes get really pissed about really little things. All right? Just today, I gave my son's breakfast. One is 3, one is 5. All right? And my 3-year-old took the sausage from my 5-year-old, and my 5-year-old went crazy. Now, sometimes if I get involved, it's my fault. They hit me, they turn right around and take it out on me. So if I picked up my 5-year-old, maybe a little older than here, but could have just been a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and they started hitting me over the sausage, and you put that picture out there and say, well, Hacker's a bad father, you might get some people believing it, but the truth is, who knows what happened? She could be crying because, or hitting Amber because she put the wrong color shoes on or something. That happens too, all right? Like I said, I got 3 kids. We get dressed in the morning. Sometimes one wants to wear black, red, blue, and they'll cry and fight and throw a fit if the color of the jacket's different than the one yesterday or whatever. If there's a different cartoon on the socks that they didn't want to wear and they look down and they're wearing it, you know, Dad, why do you put these socks on me? It's your fault. Whatever it is, sometimes they're smarter than you think. Did you wash these last night? Is that why I'm wearing it? I want to wear my old ones that I wore to the park, and it gets more complicated than you think. So, having said that, it's really tough to judge a relationship based on photos. Now, we do know who Amber is. She's not very trustable. It could very well be that she's just putting her daughter out there in many occasions for the photo op. We know she's called paparazzis before. We know she likes attention. Probably not so much these days, but she's probably still got that part in her. So I'm not saying I'm going to defend her 100%. All I'm saying is it's really hard to get context and know anything. I mean, when we see pictures like this, you could think a few different things. But if a kid is crying like that for some reason, one thing you can do is ignore them to show them, look, I know you're crying. You've been crying for 10 minutes, but I'm not going to just bend the knee now and keep, being sweet and giving you what you want. Because when I do that, you still cry anyway. So I'm going to try to be firm, put my head up, and ignore the crying. And sometimes that works because the kid thinks, well, they're not trying to give me the candy anymore. They're not trying to give me the doll back anymore. They don't want me to play with it. They're just being firm. So I guess I'll stop crying because it's not working anymore, which could be what we have here. There's just no way to know. Some people might not like that. They might think I'm defending Amber. But like once in a while, you just got to get into reality and think some different things and try to think critical about it. And again, I raised 5 kids. I'm not just sitting here speculating like some guy trying to think something. I've got the real experience to back it up. If you've got 1 kid, I guess you know. If you've got 2 kids, much better. But if you've got 3 your own, then you really know. And if you've got 3 plus like 2 cousins very close downstairs, then yeah, you can't just completely judge a picture off the bat. That being said, once again, you are not Mera. So, yes, there could be something going on here, but it's obviously a little bit of both, right? She does have a daughter via surrogate, by the way, just to mention facts, but she also does flaunt the daughter, and more so in the past. We've also got this photo set that got out here, and when you see stuff like this, obviously it doesn't look so good. So once again, I'm not giving a complete defense of Amber, but you can't take every single picture where the kid looks like they're crying and they don't like her and put it into the context of she's doing a bad job. But when you see stuff like this, obviously it doesn't look good. So you could see why people think that. Once again, she does these things to herself. And also in the same picture set, which I can't find right now, the kid's on the floor crying in a wine store. The floor looks pretty dirty. So even if it's the kid's fault, no excuse really. I mean, you should pick your kid up right away off a dirty floor like that in a wine store. So I guess if I had to wrap up what I'm saying, I would definitely agree there's high potential for some irresponsibility here and not the best care. But you can't judge every picture, especially the new ones, look particularly bad, but those could just be whatever. The alcohol stuff, that's pretty weird. You can't quite make anything good on that. But I just felt like taking a perspective and forgetting for a second about Mera and just thinking about kids and my experiences with kids. And I've seen similar things happen. And I can imagine if someone, took a picture of me in certain circumstances, I'd look pretty bad when the fact is it was just some silly thing the kid was upset about, taking it out on me. Same thing with Steven Crowder. If you know the situation, there's like a minute and a half clip or something, or 2 minutes of him really, hounding his wife. It looks terrible, but if you took a clip of me or my wife at our worst moments, or when our side of the bad part was coming out, we'd look bad, but you need full context, really. Anyway, let me know what you think down below. Doing shout outs, special thanks, things like that, stuff like this. Whatever comes up I find interesting these days. Keeping an eye on Aquaman 2, Marilyn Manson. If you don't subscribe, I'll be sad, but I'll get over it. See you next time.